The administrative record is clinical Aurelia Tertia, freedwoman, convicted of beneficium against Claudia Marcella, sentenced to arena execution. Method assigned crematio per tunicam. Execution confirmed by arena physician at the 7th hour. What this bureaucratic language doesn't capture is that Aurelia Tertia is 23 years old. That she's maintained her innocence through 3 days of preliminary torture. That she can't walk without assistance, as guards drag her onto the Colosseum sand at noon on a day in 115 CE. She can smell blood and offal from the morning's animal hunts. Can hear 50,000 Romans finishing lunch, chatting with neighbors, barely glancing at the arena floor. This hour, the time between morning spectacles and afternoon gladiatorial matches, belongs to the condemned, and Aurelia doesn't yet know which execution method has been assigned to her. She'll learn what's about to happen to her body only when it begins happening. 2 attendants approach carrying something that glints in Mediterranean sun. It takes her a moment to understand a garment made of linen soaked in pitch and oil, designed to be placed over her body and then ignited. The tunica molesta, the troublesome shirt. She's heard of this punishment everyone in Rome has, but hearing about fire and feeling it approach your skin are different things entirely. This is where we begin understanding what Roman civilization actually looked like behind marble facades and philosophical treatises. Not gladiators fighting for honor. Not dramatic thumbs up or down. An execution industry that killed between 200,000 and 400,000 people over 4 centuries using methods designed to maximize suffering and spectacle. Today, we're examining how Rome transformed systematic violence into entertainment, and what survival lessons this teaches about institutional cruelty across centuries, because the patterns Rome established using public execution as social control, optimizing violence for audience satisfaction. Bureaucratizing brutality, these keep reappearing throughout history, including medieval Europe. The tunica molesta was engineered for prolonged visibility. Cheap linen soaked in pitch. Risen, animal fat combination that burned slowly rather than flash combusting. Death took 10 to 15 minutes instead of seconds. The garment was pulled over Aurelia's head while unlit, tied at waist to prevent removal. Sometimes secured at wrists and ankles to posts holding victims upright as flames did their work. Ignition was theatrical attendants approached with torches from multiple directions, lighting simultaneously, so flames spread evenly. Medical experts analyzing these methods estimate victims remained conscious 3 to 8 minutes depending on flame spread. The administrative record notes her execution was well received by the crowd, notation appearing frequently in arena documents indicating death provided satisfactory entertainment value. But here's what matters beyond individual horror. Rome had systematized this. Arena officials tracked which methods produced positive crowd responses, experimented with variations, developed specializations. Certain amphitheaters became known for specific execution types, drawing crowds who traveled to see particular methods. This wasn't chaos. It was industry, organized, profitable, central to Roman social and political life for 4 centuries. The survival lesson. When violence becomes professionalized with trained practitioners, administrative optimization, audience satisfaction metrics, you're witnessing institutional cruelty far more dangerous than individual sadism. Professional torture operates independently of any single person's psychology, making it sustainable across regime changes. Understanding this pattern helps recognize when contemporary systems are industrializing violence. Philosopher Seneca witnessed the noon executions around 55 CE. I happened to return home at midday, expecting rest. Instead, I found something quite different. The morning fights had been merciful by comparison. Now, all pretense was stripped away. The men had no armor. Their bodies were completely exposed to every blow. Who needs skill when you have condemned criminals killing each other? He was describing the ludi meridiani, forcing prisoners to kill each other with no training. No armor. No possibility of survival. Licinia Sabina, 26-year-old slave convicted of murdering her master during escape attempt, experienced this in 143 CE. Administrative record, paired first against Gaius Vettius, convicted of robbery, whom she killed after 4 minutes of combat, paired second against Sextus Pomponius, convicted of embezzlement, by whom she was killed after 7 minutes. The dry language conceals psychological horror. Licinia was forced to kill another human being she didn't know, using a sword she'd never trained with. After killing him, while still covered in his blood, while processing trauma of having ended a life, she was immediately confronted by another condemned prisoner, who killed her in turn. Modern psychologists recognize this as participation in atrocity, forcing victims to become perpetrators, compounding physical death with moral contamination. The survival lesson: systems forcing victims to participate in their own dehumanization, requiring compliance. Extracting cooperation. Manufacturing, consent through coercion, achieve psychological destruction beyond physical violence. Recognizing when you're being recruited into complicity helps you refuse participation before becoming invested in defending actions you'd normally oppose. The damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to beasts, wasn't simply being thrown to lions. It was elaborate production involving multiple species, staged scenarios, timing designed to extend death over significant periods. Publius Aelianus Fortunatus, 31-year-old merchant convicted of imperial treasury fraud, experienced this in 177 CE. Administrative record specifies animals assigned: bears 3, leopards 2, wild dogs pack of 12, staging bound to stake with extended exposure intervals. He wasn't thrown to animals and killed immediately. He was bound centrally, while animals were released one species at a time, with intervals between allowing crowd to observe injuries before next assault. First, release wild dogs trained to bite extremities rather than attacking vitals. They targeted hands, feet, faces, areas bleeding spectacularly without causing immediate death. After 15 minutes, dogs were recalled. Fortunatus left bleeding while attendants repositioned staging. Crowd used this interval to comment on injuries. Place bets on survival duration. Eat and drink. Leopards came next 20 minutes of circling and striking. Bears saved for final phase. By then, Fortunatus had been in arena over an hour. Lost significant blood. Barely conscious. He died approximately 90 minutes after entering. Death recorded as satisfactory, meaning crowd was entertained. Execution proceeded on schedule. No disruptions occurred. Physician Galen, who witnessed numerous executions, the beasts do not kill cleanly. They tear without purpose. damaging flesh in ways causing maximum bleeding without immediately fatal injury. Death comes from exhaustion as much as any single wound. The survival lesson, torture designed for graduated escalation, each phase increasing suffering while maintaining consciousness, reveals authorities' understanding that prolonged visible suffering achieves greater deterrence than quick death. When you see punishment systems structured for maximum duration and spectacle, you're dealing with regimes prioritizing entertainment value over efficiency.